Good morning, Liz.
Morning. How are you?
I'm doing okay, although a little bit of drama last night and this morning about planning a 14-year-old, soon to be 15-year-old birthday party.
Drama, 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 drama. We had drama last night too. Well, I guess the night before last, I don't know, pandemic time. Um, yeah, I was wanting to talk about that because uh, sometimes at these, you've got almost 15. I have just turned 14, just turning 13. It's so, I know it's normal, it's developmentally appropriate, but I feel like my kids are the victims of body snatchers. Like, like yesterday, I was on a Zoom virtual visit with my son and his pediatrician, who I just adore. He's been with us since he was a baby. And we were talking, I had the audacity to ask about some sex health book recommendations.
Oh.
And I thought that my son was gonna like commit Harry Carey right there. Like he was so just like, oh my God, mom.
Mortified.
And the doctor just looks at him like that's just totally normal. And it always throws me because I want to be like to the doctor, who is this? This is crazy. Right?
An
I don't know where
imposter.
my kid go. Right. This isn't really Jack McLean. But the doctor's just like, that makes, yeah, I understand. You don't even need to read books. You could just have some conversations if you want to with whoever you want to. And I was like, no, we need to read flipping books, man. What are you doing? But anyway, so I had this experience with him where I'm supposed to do phone audits more often than I do, but I forget, and my kids are pretty nerdy. So, I'm not too worried. But I did a phone audit the night before last, and I was really upset to find out that my
Cell phones,
Mhm.
text messages, and
all
everything.
the texts and all that, right, the browsing history, all that. And I go in and I see my son's been texting a ton with this person whose contact name is the Supreme Justice. And I was like, Jack, who's this? And he goes, oh, that's you. What? And I said, is that a compliment? And he's like, not really. And I just, whatever. I tried to play it close. It's like, all right, well, I'm going to change your contact. But I hadn't figured out what I was going to change it to, although I have, and I'll tell you that in a minute. But I was just really thrown for a loop. And so I went and I texted my mom squad, which is my group of moms. I've talked about them here before, but
Yeah.
the definition of this mom squad is people who fundamentally like me, care about me, and don't judge me. And they helped me process this. Like, I don't know, I felt really vulnerable. Like, oh my gosh, my kid just sees me as his like punitive authority figure. That's it. Whereas I think I'm a cool mom, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, they had a lot of different things to say, and they helped me laugh about it. And one of them said, oh my God, that's nothing. Just be glad that's all you're called. Like, yeah, I don't know. I just feel so grateful to have that mom squad. They're the people that like actually attend the school meetings.
Right.
And then they tell me the important stuff. They remind me where I'm supposed to be when they know that I'm going to forget and what I'm supposed to bring, so that my kids aren't, embarrassed that they don't have the right shade of dance lipstick and all that, right? Because they kind of know I'm a little bit of a train wreck.
Mm-hmm.
I mean well,
Yeah.
but I'm, pretty disorganized. And so I don't know, I've just been reflecting on that, about how I really felt isolated and kind of ashamed that, oh, this is how my kid sees me. And of course, I imagine that everyone else is best friends with their teenagers.
Hmm.
But then along comes my mom squad to make it normal. And I just, I'm so grateful. Do you have any experiences of that recently? That kind of like feeling like I'm going it alone, or I'm in new territory. I don't recognize my family. I feel out of my depth. And then you have this coming alongside and feeling lifted.
Um, eh, as you said, I've got 3 kids. I'm trying to go back in the memory bank. Of course, of course. And I'm thinking, your son might have done that, and not because of you at all, um, but merely because he was trying to fit in at school or try to fit in with his friend group, so that when your text would come up, he'd be able to have a little funny and a way to bond, with his peers, and probably didn't give 1 minute's thought about how it would make you feel. And, we've talked a lot about the mom thing and how the pandemic and just culture inadvertently affects women. So I've been reading a book. It's called The General Theory of Love, which is not new. It's an old book. Um, but in it really does talk about infants and moms
Hmm,
and how the brains and the neurosystems grow together. And from infanthood, like 2 to 3 days in, that infant, once it's mom's space and recognizes its mom's voice and
mhm,
immediately leans to the mom and no one else.
mhm,
And that kind of neural energy
mhm.
is always there. It's always there. It doesn't dissipate. Now, it might dissipate from the exterior,
Right, because that's what it feels like.
which, yeah, as your kids start to get those hormones and the peer pressure and you enter those teenage years, from the exterior, you don't see it, but it's always there.
Hmm,
So, like it or not, yes, we as moms will always have that expectation to be the caregiver and to be the one that's always there, present and loving toward our children. And that hurts us in ways like professionally, and other ways about our time. But it is just part of biology, the biology of the brain. And when my kids were teenagers, they didn't think about anyone else. And they didn't think ahead about consequences. Um, I don't know that we can expect them to, honestly, with all those hormones swirling around. They are just focused on how do they build relationships with their peer group and how do they look great with their peer group.
yeah, that's, what the insight you're giving me right now is that it's kind of similar to coaching. Like, it's not about me. And so in a way that's liberating. What's resonating with me right now is that it's liberating that, okay, he's just starring in his own movie and I'm like not in this scene,
No,
you
no.
know? But it's yeah, it does hurt. Honestly, it hurts. I think that's really what's underneath it, is a little feeling of rejection, when I, like, just 10 minutes ago I went up there because he overslept his morning meeting at school the other day, and so I went up there to make sure he was up, and he walks out of his room and he's like, "Hey, hi honey, hi, hug, here's a hug." I'm going to ignore that there's a new pimple that I really want to attend to on your nose. But,
Mm,
hey, can I have a hug? Yeah,
yeah.
that's the response. It's like, oh God,
So
okay.
how do your babies go from total dependence on you to independence, going off to college, if there's not a little rejection along the way or pushback?
Such a sage. You're right. You're
Mm.
right. How are they going to cope if they don't start to
How
be
are they?
self-reliant?
Yeah, it's not even coping. It's how are they going to build independence?
Yeah, build independence, become their own person. Um, yeah, you're right. Oh, this is really helpful. Thank you. Do you want to know what I did nickname them in my phone?
I would love to, I think.
I think it's inspired. Jack is Janksty and Mia is Manksty.
Ah,
First letter, angst. Janksty and Manksty.
and whose angst is it?
Wow. You're right. Like that's the thing. It's my angst is mixed in there a little bit, but that's
A
what I'm
little
gonna work
bit.
on.
A little bit. Whose angst is it?
Because I'm also angsty because mom angst, right?
You're langsty.
Angsty. This is helpful though. Honestly, I feel like you helped me get a little bit of distance and see it clearly because you're in my mom's squad too.
I am. You gotta let them
Important.
push. You gotta let them push away from the dock. And they can't push away unless there's some resistance.
I'm seeing his little boat. It's a dinghy
It's a little
called
dingy
the
boat.
Janksty.
Yes. It's not a big solid boat yet, but it has to start as a little dingy boat.
Okay, you're right. All right. Thank you for that visual. Appreciate you so much.
You are welcome.
Until next time.
Have a good one.